Here's another demo about web storage. I'm only going to go over local storage, not local and session storage. Again, the difference is local storage holds your information even after you close your browser, even after you turn off your machine, even if you come back 7 days later or any time later, your information will be saved. Session storage, it's only saved as long as your browser's open. So I don't really care about session storage right now, so I'm only going to deal with local. In the center here, I've got Google Chrome browser, and to the right I've got a Firefox browser. Let's go over the code for these simple little page. It's only one page, and I kept everything inside. So I have the JavaScript inside, and I have the styles inside, all in the head, instead of external style sheets. It's easy enough to create external style sheets by copying and pasting these and then just pointing or linking, but I've got it all in one, so I don't have to keep bouncing back from tab to tab. I called this May 3rd practice.html. HTML tag, head tag, title. Title tag says storage practice. What you see in the title is what's up here in the tabs of the browser. Storage practice here in Google Chrome and storage practice here in Firefox. The next thing I've got are all the styles for different things, different elements that you see. First of all, I have a style for the li tag, which means list item. And that style I gave list style type of circle. So if I come in here and create a key value pair, in this first text area, this is going to be the key. So let's say red. And then let's go in here for the value. This text area is going to be the value, and I'm going to say apple. Hit save it. And you see here we've got a list item that pops up, red, apple. And you see this list item right here, this style is a circle. And if I click refresh in Firefox, nothing happens because this code only saves stuff in whatever particular browser you're in at the time. So if I go here in Firefox, I can create a whole separate list entity. So let's say storage key 1, storage value, my name. Save it. So you see here in Chrome I've got a red apple, and here I've got 1 Lisa, separated by, like I said, that colon. And I'll show you how you can change that colon to anything you want that separates the storage key from the storage value. Let me try one more. After red apple, let's try blue, and then the storage value, berries. Save it. So now I've got blueberries and red apple. Let's go to Firefox and create another one. 1 Lisa. Now let's try 2 Freeman. Save it. So now we've got 2 totally different unique lists depending on their exclusive browser. If I wanted to change my list item from a circle to a disk, all a disk is going to be is a closed circle, not an open one. See? Now that's a full circle instead of a open one. A disk. That's the difference between circle and disk. Oh, that's weird. Did I spell disk wrong? Yeah, I guess I spelled disk wrong. And we could also try square. Now we've got squares here and squares here. So it changed my page, the styles. I can change the styles in as many different browsers as I open the page in. I just can't change the list items to match each other because they're separate lists, they're separate storage areas. For my table and TD tags, which means table data cell, inside of the table, I have border thick purple solid, and I have border collapse, but I have it z'd out, so you don't actually see what it looks like collapsed yet. If I Z out the table, because I've got a separate thing here for table, let me do that. Now you see all the borders are purple, right? The only reason they started off with one blue because down here for just table by itself, I gave it a border of thick blue solid. But if I misspell it by putting a Z in front of it, then it's going to accept this style that I gave it for table, comma, TD. Table and T are going to get thick purple solid. And I'll take the Z off of border collapse style so that you see what it looks like to collapse these borders. This is the collapsed border. On the right, this is the non-collapsed border. So it's completely up to you how you prefer this. That's border collapse. It's simpler. It's not as busy. You might prefer that. But the thing of it is, if I collapse the border and I give the table itself a different color border, because they're collapsed on each other, you only see the one color. So if I take this border collapse off and let them open back up again, now you see the difference between the TD border being purple and the table border by itself being thick blue solid. All right. Then we have pound storage key text, comma, pound storage data text, comma, pound remove key text. All of those are IDs that I gave each one of my text input areas here. This one, and this one. And all of them have these styles: background color of yellow, padding of 5 pixels, margin of 5 pixels, and width of 120 pixels. Then I decided I wanted more padding in my table data cells themselves, so I gave them a padding of 5 pixels. Then I've got 3 buttons: ID save button, comma, ID remove button, comma, ID clear button. And all of the styles for those 3 buttons that you see here to the right with the 100%, which means however big your page is, these buttons right here will be as wide as this particular table data cell is. So with the 100%, padding 5 pixels, border 10 pixels gray outset, font weight bold, and color white. Then I wanted, see these are all styles that all 3 buttons share, but I wanted them to have their exclusive styles as well. So the pound save button, which is this ID save button, I gave it a background color of green. Then the ID remove button, I gave a background color of red, which you see right here. And the pound clear button, which means button with the ID of clear, BTN, I gave a background color of blue. So each button has its own unique color, background color, but they share the gray border style, and they share how big their font is, they share how wide they are. And then I've got a section, pound local storage data output. This has a background color of black, a font size of 25 pixels, and a color of white. And you can tell that this background color of black, color of white, and larger font, this section right here is what in the body you'll see. That section says ID equals local storage data output. This is the placeholder. Every time we hit save it or remove one or remove all, it's going to either add or remove stuff inside this particular area itself. That ends all the style. Now let's go to the script. We've got, let's see how many functions we've got here. We've got one function named add storage. We have another function called remove storage. We have a third function called clear storage. And lastly, I have window.onload equals function, and then we have that fourth function being the final function. We end the script and end the head. Then we hit the body, and I could talk about the different elements that you could visually see. But until then, let's go over the functions. Let's go function add storage. And that's all highlighted. Function add storage. When I click this save it button, the on click event is going to call add storage. And this is what's going to happen. var key equals document.getElement by ID, and the ID of that element is storage key text. So what's going to happen is whatever the user types in this text area right here, I gave this an ID of storage key text. That value is going to go inside a new variable that has the name of key. The next thing we do, which is very similar, var data equals document.getElementById by ID storage data text. Well, the name of this text area here in the middle has the ID of storage data text. So whatever the user types in this particular text area, that value is going to go inside the variable called data. Then we have an if condition, if local storage in window, and local storage is in double quotes. So this is basically finding out if the web browser actually deals with local storage. And if it's true, then we're going to say local storage.setItem, and in parentheses, key.value, comma, data.value. And again, we've created key and data, so whatever's typed in here goes inside key. So therefore, key.value means that whatever was typed in here is also going to go into this local storage.setItem statement. And then the comma data.value means that whatever you type in here is going to go in this variable, and data.value means that value is going to also be put in this pair, key.value, comma, data.value. So once you type something in here and hit this, it's going to save it. It's going to do the function add storage. Now, if your browser does not accept local storage, does not do web storage, or if you don't have anything, you didn't save, there's nothing in there. No, basically, if it doesn't use local storage, they were supposed to get an alert message that says no local storage in window. It's supposed to tell you something, but for some reason, well, probably because both of my browsers do accept local storage, but I do not get an alert box at all. My final line of code right before the ending curly brace for that function add storage is document.location.reload and in parentheses true. And the reason I use this is because once you click save it, in order for you to refresh the page and have these yellow text boxes clear and not hold whatever you typed in them, you have to use this statement. So just location.reload and empty parentheses was good enough for Google Chrome, but it was not good enough for Firefox. Firefox would save my information in the center part, but it would not clear my yellow text boxes. So this right here makes it more browser compatible to get the same functionality between two different browsers. All right, the next thing I can do is show you the function that's called remove storage, and it's similar to add storage, and you'll see var key equals document.getElementById remove key text. So you can guess what that means. This one down here, this text area, I gave the ID of remove key text. So whatever is typed in here, which is going to be a key, which is going to be one of these values on the left, and then you click remove one. Well, before you click remove one, whatever's typed in remove key text in here is going to go inside the variable called key, because we're using the document.getElementById. So whatever this value is going to go in this variable. So now for remove storage, we're going to have two if conditions. If local storage in window, which means, does your browser use local storage? And if local storage.length is greater than 0, which means there's been some things saved in there. If that's true also, then local storage.remove item key.value. So because we're creating, with local storage, we're creating key value pairs, it's going to remove the entire thing. Now, if you don't have local storage on your browser, then you're supposed to get an alert that says no local storage in window. Again, I did not ever get an alert box. And also, I did the same thing with the document.location.reload true at the very last line right before the end of the curly brace that completes the function, so that it would erase whatever's in the text box for Firefox. So in Google Chrome, I have two different items in local storage. I have the blue key with a value of berries and the red key with a value of apple. If I type in the value instead of the key and try to remove it, I'll show you it won't work. I want to remove Apple. I hit remove one. It removes the value from the text box, but it doesn't remove it from local storage. So if I want to remove it, I have to remove red, which is the key. Remove one, you remove the whole key value pair. Same thing here with Firefox. Let's say remove a storage key. If I just remove my name, remove one, it removes it from the text box, but it does not remove it from local storage. It's still in there. So if I just remove the number, which is the key before my name, remove one, it removes the whole thing. Okay? So I've showed you how those two work. Before I show you the function clear storage, which is very similar to remove storage, except that instead of having to type in every key value pair, by clicking this one single button, it clears them all at one time. Let me add a few to both of these browsers so that we have a list of more than one for both. Okay, so we have blueberries. Oops, I don't want to remove, I want to add. I want to create. Let's have pink grapefruit. Save it. Let's have red cherries. Save it. And finally, let's have brown chocolate, which, ooh, I could go for some chocolate right about now. And let's go into the name list that I've got. Since we only have a storage key of a number 2, let's put in a number 1 again and see if this saves it in alphanumeric order or not. I'm not really sure if there's a rhyme or reason to how it stores, but the storage key is 1, and let's put my name back, save it. Well, it didn't go above Freeman, so maybe that's not the case. Let's go with 3, and let's put in some people I've never heard of, or not that I've never heard of, but I just don't know right now. 4, I don't know. I don't know. Bethany. Oh, now, if you notice, I double-clicked save it on accident, and it actually saved just a colon here, no key and no value, because I double-clicked, and that was not intended. Let's save one more. 5, Danko. Okay, so it looks like it saved these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the highest number, and then going down to the lowest. Let's see if I create storage key as 0 and Stan. Okay, so we do look like we have a rhyme or a reason here. It looks like it's saving it in a type of numeric order here, but here it looks like it's saving it in alphabetical order with the earlier letters at the top be. Let's try something else. What would come before blue? That's a color. I don't know. I can't think of a color right now that begins with A. So I'll just create any other thing I want, just for the sake of. I don't even think that's a word. A pellet. I think it is a word, like court, but I don't know if I spelled it right. And let's just give it a weird value. Alright, so A does come before B. Let's try Q, because elemental P, Q, R. Q would go between pink and red. So let's create quirky, and let's give it a value of Durkee. Save it. Alright, so I've noticed that we've got alphabetical order if your keys are using letters. And if your keys are using numbers, it looks like it's numeric from highest to lowest. Let me try, just to be sure, let's try 15, which should stay on top. A storage value of, Dick. 15's at the bottom. What about 12? Nothing. Just junk. Okay, so when it comes to numbers, I'm not exactly sure how they come up with the order here. So I'm not going to worry too much about that. I was just curious of observing. Let's see. I'm going to close out of both of these just so I can show you that it saves it after you close out of it. So there's launching Firefox. And there's our strange name and number combination. And now let's run it in Chrome. And there's our alphabetic food kind of thing. So you see that they both saved. Let me try to remove 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, this is the value, this is the key. What we're supposed to do is use the key to remove the whole pair. But I'm going to just try 1, 2, 3, 4, the value. Let's see if I try to remove the value if it works. No, it does not work. Appellate 1, 2, 3 is still there. So let's try removing berries. Berries, which is another value. Remove. Again, it does not remove berries. Let's try to see what happens if I remove brown. If that takes brown chocolate out, then we know that we have to be aware of what's the difference between the key and the value. When you're coding, you need to know the difference in your naming conventions. What is the key and what was the value? So let's get rid of that appellate. Appellate, did I spell that right? No, I didn't. Appellate, remove one. So my appellate was removed. Let's try over here. Let's try this thing that I accidentally double clicked. If I put nothing in here and hit remove one, it actually did clear that. If I click Dick, let's see, no, that's not going to work because I'm trying to get rid of the value. I can't get rid of the value. Only way I can get rid of the value is by getting rid of the whole key value pair, which the key for Dick is 15. Remove it and you remove 15 Dick. And let's see if we want to remove this weird thing. Let's try that by removing the key 12. Remove. All right, so now we still have two lists. I showed you how to add, I showed you how to take away. I read the code for remove storage. Now let's go over the code for the clear storage. And that goes from here to here. And that's what this remove all button calls. It calls the clear storage. Function clear storage. If local storage in window, if local storage.length is greater than 0, and this is just simple as pie, local storage.clear. Else, alert no local storage in window, which again, I've never had the alert window come up, so I'm not sure what to say about that part. But again, I also had document.location.reload parentheses true. Because I'm going to comment it out, even though I don't have a text box here, I think I still have to location.reload in order for it to work. But let me try. Let me save everything and let me hit remove all. Yeah, without that, without the document.location.reload true, it's not removing anything at all. I'm clicking here and it's basically giving me the finger. So let me take these comment lines away from here and reestablish this reestablish the statement document.location.reload is true. And save these pages. And look, as soon as I refreshed, once I gave this line back, it actually deleted everything. So let's see as soon as I hit refresh if all of these disappear as well. And they have. So the remove all, it's kind of strange how that worked, but the remove all worked. I just had to have this statement in there. And last but not least, there's this window.onload equals function that as the window loads, all of this stuff happens. So this is very important. Window.onload equals function var local HTML equals nothing. We set this variable local HTML. We created it and set it to nothing in an empty string basically. Then we've got a for loop. Like every standard for loop, we have var I equals 0 as long as I is less than localStorage.length increment I. So each time this loop goes through, it comes up here and does the same thing over and over again. It takes local HTML plus, it concatenates a list item tag plus localStorage.key, and then whatever the value of I is, which it begins with 0, and then it goes to 1, then it goes to 2, then it goes to 3. So localStorage.key 0, and then localStorage.key 1, and so on and so forth. As the list grows, as they're created, and the list grows in this black background, it's going to output them. This is how we're going to output it. Plus localStorage.getItem, localStorage.key, and then again, whatever the value of I is as it goes through the loop. And then we're tagging on an ending list item tag because that's what we're creating. Our output is an output of list items. Lastly, we have document.getElementById, local storage data output .inner HTML is set equal to whatever the value of local HTML is. So this local storage data output is the ID of this section with the black background. And the inner HTML means what text is going to show up in here and how it's going to show up. And there's the end of the window onload function. So we just went over this entire function right here. So let me put in just another bunch of random stuff just to get a little bit of a list going. And then here we'll create something different. Okay. Completely random. End of the head. Now let's get into the actual elements that you see. Beginning of the body. H1 tags have this header that says WebStorage 5.3.2016, and that's what you're visualizing right here. That's my H1. That's my header. Then we have a table, which this whole thing is a table, and as I showed you in the CSS styles earlier, the actual border for the table itself has a blue border, while all the TD table data cells inside the table, they all have purple borders. TR doesn't have any style at all, but TR stands for table row. So here we have one table row, and then in the middle with a black background, that's the second table row. The third table row is this whole section with this whole section, and then the fourth table data row is this whole section with this button. So we have 4 table rows in this table, 4 TRs. So here's our table. Here's one TR, that's the first row. There's the second row. There's the third row. There's the fourth row. There's the end of the table, end of the body, end of the HTML. So in each row, let me get a little more specific. In the first row, everything in between these purple tags, we have one table data cell, which is right here. We've got the words create storage key, as you can see, create storage key. Then we have an input with a type of text that's creating our text box here. Input type equals text, ID equals storage key text. So when we talked about storage key text in our functions, we were talking about transferring whatever the user types into here and using the function to actually output it there and save it since we're using local storage. And there's the end of that table data cell. Here's the second table data cell, which is right here with those words, create storage value. And here's those words, create storage value. And here's that input type equals text, ID equals storage data text. Now we're talking about this yellow text box. Okay, that was that table data cell. Here's the third table data cell, which right here has this save it button in it. Input type equals button, ID equals save button, value equals save it, and onClick equals add storage, return false. So the onClick has two statements because you can see two semicolons. One is calling the add storage function and then return false, and that is all in the onClick has everything enclosed in a set of double quotes. End of the table data cell, end of the TR, end of the table row. So we've talked about everything in this first table row. Now here I've got a note to myself that says storage displays here, and this is with a black background. This is where the storage will be displayed. We have the table row tags, our TD with a call span of 3, which means it's going to take up the width of one column, two columns, 3 columns. That's what call span equals 3 is. ID equals local storage data output. So anywhere in our function that's referring to local storage data output, we're referring to this section. Also in our CSS style sheet, the pound local storage data output is how I put the background being black and the color being white and the font being like 25 pixels or whatnot. Okay, so there's the second table row. Third table row. TD call span 2. This time we have the words remove a storage key, but instead of putting another box or a box in its own table data cell, we gave it a call span of 2 so we can just have the words and the box next to each other like we have it here. Input type equals text, ID equals remove key text. So here's the words and here's the thing next to each other. If we open this up, if we open it up big enough, these other ones you have the words and the text box next to each other. But the thing of it is, as you make your window smaller, the text area flows underneath the words because it only has so much space. Okay, and then the next table data cell is right here where it says remove one. So input type equals button, ID equals remove button, value equals remove one, and onClick equals remove storage and return false. So again, we've got a button that has two statements, one of them being to call the remove storage function and then return false. And that ends that table data cell and the table row. So we only have one more table row left here on the bottom. Here's your table row tags. Your table data call span equals 2 because we want it to also go the width of 2 columns. And then we have the words click only if you want to remove all key value pairs. And that's everything that you see in there. End of table data cell. Here's a new table data cell that has the input button in it. The input type equals button. Input type equals button, ID equals clear button. Now we're talking about the remove all button. Value equals remove all. OnClick equals clear storage function semicolon, return false semicolon. And again, they're all in one set of double quotes. So there's the end of that table data cell, the end of the table row, end of table, end of body, end of HTML. So if I hit remove all, they're gone. If I want to remove one, I have to be careful to put in the key, just as I see, A234FC, and that will get rid of this entire pair. That's to get rid of one. To remove all of them at once, there you go. And that's it pretty much for this toot.